on Business Incorporated today. Nigeria Senate approves the conversion of 22.7 trillion naira ways and means to bonds. South Africa launches the upgraded banknote honoring Nelson Mandela. And Tanzania diamond exports rises. Good afternoon. Welcome to Business Incorporated here on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We start off with the market as usual. You see here NGX is down. That's the Nigeria Stock Exchange, 0.71%. That's a deep loss. They're at, and then we also have the South Africa JSE down also 0.71. EGX 30 of Egypt is in the red, but not as much as the JSE and the NGX. It's marginally down 0.03%. Kenya closed yesterday deeply in the red, and it's down to 104 in its all-share index, and that's really low, of course, for a trading market. In the Middle East, we see it's good news, all green at intraday, starting from Abu Dhabi there, 0.14%, 9,658.68. Dubai also, 0.31%. In the positive, 3,588.85. We move to other region, is Saudi Arabia, 0.28% positive. Qatar is the best there, 1.48%, almost 1.5% up for Qatar as intraday. In Europe this week, we see that European police and judicial authorities executed the largest ever coordinated hit against Italian organized crime. Authorities in 10 countries arrested more than 100 people affiliated to a powerful criminal syndicate responsible for most of the cocaine trade in Europe, where we have Andre now, who's been on with us this week, joining us to give us details. Andre, good afternoon. So tell us more about this operation and why it's so important.
Good day. Thanks for having me. It was by all means a large operation, one of the largest ever against Italian organized crime. It comes after years of investigation spanning Italy, Germany, Belgium, Portugal, Spain, Slovenia, and even Brazil and Panama. Over 2,700 officers were involved on the ground during the action day. According to the authorities, the 'Ndrangheta clans involved were responsible for most of the cocaine trade in Europe and beyond EU borders even. They also made big profits through weapon smuggling and many other illegal activities. Police also seized a number of businesses that were involved in money laundering operations through real estate restaurants, hotels, car wash companies, and even an ice cream parlor in Siegen, Germany, which was also a strategic hub for people involved in drug trafficking and even killings.
So we also hear of new high-tech money laundering operations that involves Chinese brokers. Tell us more about that. How does that work?
Yeah, the involvement of Chinese brokers really shows the global reach of these criminal families. So forget about people smuggling big bags of cash. According to the investigations, the brokers would get the money straight from the clans, mostly in Italy, and then they would move it globally through hard-to-trace digital money transfer systems in exchange for a fee of up to 12%. What's surprising, in a way, is that 'Ndrangheta is now, in fact, one of the most powerful crime organizations in the world, yet it all tracks back to the clan of San Luca. That's a small mountain village in the southern Italian region of Calabria. The clans were controlling everything mostly from there, and we're talking about operations worth billions of euros. The drugs that were seized during the operation alone were valued at about $2.5 billion. And that's just a part of an empire whose total value is believed to be way above 50 billion euros in total.
Wow, $25 billion, that's a whole lot. But let's look at the markets now. Hope those criminals have not infiltrated the markets.
Markets in Europe today open with bated breath, anticipating a European Central Bank decision on rates. But yesterday already, the Fed announced a 0.25% hike and somewhat hinted at a pause in the tight monetary policy by dropping the usual statement about a future rate increase. Still, the Fed Chair Jerome Powell clearly said it was too soon to call off the rate hike cycle. And as a reaction, European markets opened in the red today. In London, the FTSE 100 lost 0.5%, while the DAX in Frankfurt opened at minus 0.7%.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrea, for that update from Berlin. Talking about the United States now, we move over to the markets, and stock features were a little changed on Thursday, a day after the Federal Reserve hiked rates by another 25 basis points. Traders also grappled with returning contagion fears in the regional bank space. Features linked to the S&P, looking at the numbers right there, S&P is down 0.25%. Dow Jones is also down 0.24%. Nasdaq is the only green. The tech guys are on the flip side, 0.08% at 13,111.75. Told you earlier that the regional banks sold off because of the fear back in that space. They sold off hard, with Western Alliance tumbling 18%, and Zions Bank Corporation dropped 7%, and stocks closed lower. That's yesterday on Wednesday, with the Dow shedding 270 points. That's about 0.8%, and S&P dropped 0.7%. Also, Nasdaq Composite lost roughly 0.5%. Staying with the market, Asia Pacific were mixed after the U.S. Federal Reserve hiked rates by 25 basis points, as widely expected, bringing the federal funds rate range to 5% to 5.25%. That's the highest level since August 2007. The Fed, in its post-meeting statement, hinted at a possible pause in hikes ahead. It omitted a sentence present in the previous statement saying that the committee anticipates that some additional policy firming may be appropriate for the Fed to achieve its 2% inflation goal. We also know that China's factory activity fell into contraction for the first time in 3 months, with the Caixin China purchasing managers. Let's look at the numbers right there. The Nikkei 225 was in the green, 0.12%, 29,157.95. Shanghai Composite, almost 1% at 0.82%. The Hang Seng Index, more than 1%, positive 1.27%. Kospi, however, is on the flip side, marginally, those 0.02%. In Australia, it's also a marginal drop at 0.06 cents. In the oil space, prices rose on Thursday, but were unable to claw back much of this week's more than 8% decline as demand concerns in major consuming countries continued to weigh. Brent futures were up 73 cents to $73.06 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 49 cents to $69.09 after falling earlier in the session to $63.64. That's the lowest since the 2nd of December 2021. Prices are plunged this week on concerns about the U.S. economy and signs of weak manufacturing growth in the world's largest oil importer, that's China, sliding further after the U.S. Federal Reserve raised interest rates that capped near-term economic growth prospects. However, the market has seen support from the Fed signal that it may pause further interest rate increases to give officials some time to assess the fallout from the recent bank failures and to gain clarity on the dispute over raising the U.S. debt ceiling. OPEC Plus started voluntary output cuts at the beginning of this month. Metal space now, gold took a breather on Thursday after accelerating to a near record high as the United States Federal Reserve steered clear of hinting at further rate hikes, with elevated economic risks seen fueling robust demand for the safe haven metal. Spot gold was flat, $2,038.37 per ounce after climbing earlier to $2,072.19, just shy of a record high of $2,072.49 that it hit in 2020, with analysts attributing the slight pullback to profit-taking. U.S. gold futures rose 0.5% to $2,046.60. Well, in South Africa, still talking gold now, South Africa's Public Investment Corporation has boosted its stake in the Goldfields Limited to 15%, giving the pension fund an even greater say in the future of one of the country's biggest miners. The PIC, which oversees more than 2.5 trillion rand, that's about $143 billion of mainly government workers' pension, is a key investor in many of South Africa's largest companies, and its support is often crucial for major corporate transactions. Goldfields climbed as much as 5.4% in Johannesburg trading, and the pensioners are looking forward to more profits coming from that activity. In Nigeria, the Nigerian lawmakers, mostly the Senate at this time, have approved President Muhammadu Buhari's request to lawmakers to approve the conversion of 22.7 trillion naira loans from the central bank into bonds that will be repaid over several decades. The approval from the Senate is expected to push the country's debt to gross domestic product ratio near the 40% limit set by the government. Economists have been highlighting some implications of this move. One of them is senior economist with SPEM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaji.
Means we have postponed is going to relieve the pressure on government, because I had, as I've said and written in the papers, that would mean if that has not been done, federal government would have been servicing that loan with about 3 to 4 trillion naira. But with this restructuring, it has reduced the pressure. What it has not done is the debt stock. The debt stock will still be added to 46 trillion naira announced by the Debt Management Office, which means President Buhari may still have to pass that huge debit check to President-elect Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yeah, huge debit check to the incoming administration seems to be the title of that. Now, Ghana and South Africa are vying to be Africa's top gold producers. The mining industry in Ghana involves both large global players, but also artisans mining activities, many of which are illegal. Findings by Ghana Forestry Commission indicates that of the 16 regions of Ghana, 7 have been affected by illegal mining activities. Illegal mining activities not only reduce the size of forests, but also pollute rivers and create deep holes that are then difficult to rehabilitate. And authorities are regularly launching operations against illegal sites, including removing excavators. But the practice continues. Head of Forestry Commission believes that insufficient law enforcement, corruption, and unemployment fuel deforestation activities. While Ghana has a tropical forest rich in biodiversity with different species of trees and animals that all perform important functions for the country and the world. In addition to illegal mining, the main driver of deforestation in Ghana is the expansion of agricultural areas, but also illegal logging, forest fires, overgrazing, and infrastructure development. Tanzania's diamond exports rose sharply in the 12 months through March compared with the prior period, and that's due to improved production. This is according to the country's central bank. Tanzania exported diamonds worth $57.6 million in the year ended March, up from $19.2 million in the same period the prior period. Tanzania's large-scale diamond production resumed in the fourth quarter of 2021 after a temporary closure of the country's only large-scale diamond mine. Welcome back to Watching Business Incorporated here on Channels Television. Now let's discuss Noodles. In Nigeria, Noodles has been in the news recently. We've had NAFDAC reassuring Nigerians of safety of locally produced instant noodles after that news about fear of it being banned because of its health risks. But according to the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, that's NAFDAC, there's no ban on instant noodles that are produced locally in the country, as NAFDAC has registered several local manufacturers, and noodles have been certified safe for consumption It notes that the Taiwan and Malaysia noodles have nothing to do with locally produced noodles. Let's talk more about this with Victoria Momo, who is analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Hi, Victoria. Good afternoon. So this news, has it had any effects yet on maybe demand or prices? Has it affected anything yet when it comes to noodles in the country?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Amy. Like you rightly said, there is some sort of misconception about the news on the ban of noodles importation into the country. The NAFDAC has already reiterated the ban of importation of noodles, and even the affected noodles has reiterated it, but people still believe that the ban is placed on locally produced noodles. And we are all aware that the social media has a viral nature, and that is where all of this information are being passed across. And many people have believed that, the ban of the importation is actually on the locally produced. And as a result of this misinformation, we've seen like quite a number of people saying that they're going to cut down on the consumption of noodles, bearing in mind that there is also this health and sensitivity. So this misinformation or the information flying around is actually going to affect, the demand for noodles. And this is bad news for the industry players in both the affected brand of noodles and other brands of noodles in the country. But I believe that this decline in demand for noodles, it will be short-lived because of the NAFDAC have already decided or to undergo some investigation and also random sampling in the domestically produced noodles, just to ensure Nigerians that the noodles locally produced is actually safe for consumption. And in the meantime, we can see noodles companies try to increase their adverts and also create awareness, and if possible, upgrade their products in order to encourage the demand for the products.
And then wheat and palm oil are major ingredients in the production of noodles. Meanwhile, global prices of wheat and palm oil, we see them declining. Apart from this, is it reflecting in the price of noodles?
Yeah, wheat and palm oil, they're actually key ingredients in producing noodles. And good news, global prices of wheat and palm oil are actually declining and set to decline to the end of the year. But however, this decline in prices have not really reflected in the domestic price of noodles. And this is because there is a lag between when global prices are falling and when we feel the impact here in Nigeria. Take, for example, the global food prices has been falling for 12 months consecutively, but we are yet to feel that impact domestically. And this is because of some legacy constraints and structural issues domestically that the producers are battling with. For example, the issue of forest scarcity, high interest rate, inflation, all of this is weighing on their cost of operation. And as a result of that, they've decided to, either filter that into the price of the commodity, or most industry face the risk of shutdowns or possibly layoffs. But in the case of noodles, the price is, expected to remain relatively stable in the near term, because the impact of the high cost of operation would actually offset that of the falling global wheat prices and palm oil.
So on Tuesday, we talked about palm oil and how production in Nigeria has been projected to increase by 7%. How do you expect this to affect the production of noodles, since palm oil is a major ingredient for producing noodles?
Well, that's an interesting news. Production projected to increase by 7%, next season, this year. I mean, it's good news for industries that use palm oil to produce a variety of their product, not just noodle industry. This would, reduce the amount of money that is being spent on importation of palm oil to meet their needs. And it's also would help the noodles industry and every other industry to reduce their cost of production here in the country. But it might interest you to note that despite the projected increase in palm oil production in Nigeria, it doesn't mean that we are self-sufficient just yet. So a whole lot more needs to be done to improve palm oil production in order to reduce the cost of operation for businesses here in Nigeria, and also make it easier for them to access these products domestically instead of going to the global markets. With the issue of forex scarcity, still in play.
Yeah, unfortunately, that FX challenge really closes a lot of benefits that the country, especially the manufacturers, should be enjoying. But thank you so much, Victoria Momo, for sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's move to South Africa, where there, like Nigeria, some sorts, the South African Reserve Bank has launched its upgraded currency. And the new money, which should begin circulation in a couple of months, comes in the form of newly designed banknotes and coins with enhanced vibrancy and safety features. The issuance of the upgraded banknotes and coins commemorates 10 years since the passing of former President Nelson Mandela and 11 years since he first appeared on the country's banknotes. We have our correspondent there in South Africa, Innocent Semosa. He captured the features in this report.
The new banknotes depicts Mandela's life, including his upbringing in the rural Eastern Cape province as a son of a chief, his 27-year incarceration, and the end of apartheid in 1994 when he became president. Mandela died in 2013 at the age of 95.
Inspired by his long walk to freedom, the 200-rand note showed the Union buildings where he was inaugurated as President of the Republic of South Africa in 1994. A commemorative circulation 5-rand coin was also issued featuring a portrait of Madiba. Now in 2023, we continue to acknowledge his legacy, and his portrait is still proudly depicted on our banknotes.
However, the launch of the upgraded banknotes and coins comes at the time when the South African economy is not performing well. Load shedding is having a significant impact on the country's economy. Many businesses are struggling to stay afloat. We understand now that 22 billion rand has been set aside by Treasury to help Eskom purchase diesel. I had the opportunity to speak to Deputy Finance Minister David Masondo, and this is what he had to say.
What we said through the minister's speech in February this year is that we're going to take 254 billion debt of Eskom into the sovereign, and that will enable Eskom, therefore, to have money, whatever money that they're going to generate, they will be able to use it to generate electricity.
I asked the South African Reserve Bank Governor, Lesetja Kganyaro, if he's confident in the measures put in place by the government to resuscitate Eskom.
If you were to ask the government, do you have confidence that the South African Reserve Bank will cap inflation? They will probably say yes. I have got no reason to doubt that what they say they are going to do, they will do.
In other words, you have confidence in them?
It's not for me to express confidence or otherwise of the government.
The upgraded currency is expected to be introduced into circulation gradually over the coming months. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Semosa, Channels Television News.
I'm sure every Nigerian watching that report will just think about, where is our new Naira? We should also have our new Naira, in circulation hand in hand with the old one. And then gradually we would see, just as South Africa has planned to do, we would see the old one disappear. So we still ask, where is our new Naira? But we'll keep asking that question until we see a new Naira. That's it on Business Incorporated today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We'll have a final one tomorrow. Do join me then. I'm Ini John Mekwa.